Good evening and welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us, for taking the time out of your night to join us for this public hearing. This is a public hearing for an EGLE CAFO NPDES draft permit for KB Dairy LLC. My name is Ryan Blazek. I'm with EGLE's Environmental Support Division, and I'll just be your moderator for tonight's public hearing. As the moderators, have a couple things to go through before we get too far in tonight's activities. First thing is just an agenda. So this is what tonight's is going to look like. We're going to start off with a welcome. That's what we're doing right now, and an introduction. Big thing to keep in mind is there's two parts to the hearing tonight. We're going to start off with an informational session. So we'll be doing that next, where EGLE is going to describe the proposed issuance and information on the application. And then we're going to go through a question and answer session where you have an opportunity to ask questions related to this permit. And then that'll go till around 6:45, unless we run out of questions. If we do run out of questions, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break. The hearing starts at 6:45, and the hearing part is where you'll have an opportunity to make a statement for the record. So we're going to start off with the information session. We're going to provide a bunch of information for you. Then we're going to start taking comments at 6:45 when the official hearing starts. And we're also going to cover the ways to submit an official comment, and then who to contact in case there's additional questions. All right. In case you haven't joined us for one of these virtual hearings before, just so you know how these kind of work, is all lines are going to be muted during the hearing. So you'll be able to hear us, but we can't hear you. However, you will have an opportunity to ask a question verbally during the Q&A session, and you will be able to make a statement verbally. So we'll unmute you at those times, and we'll explain how we're going to do that later on. However, at any time, you can send us a question at using the Q&A box in your Zoom toolbar. We will be answering those questions only during the Q&A session, unless it's something technical related that we can potentially assist with. And then also, we are recording this hearing. So this hearing is being recorded, and we're going to be posting that recording in a couple days on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch it again or can forward it on the information on if you should choose to do so. All right, so at this point, I'd like to have our EGLE staff on the line introduce themselves, and I'll go ahead and start. My name is Ryan Blazek, as I mentioned before, and I'm also, in addition to moderator, serving as hearings officer tonight, and I'm a water resource outreach specialist with ESD.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Hernandez. I'm the permit section manager.
Hi, I'm Amanda Bozak, and my team processes the CAFO permits.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Maurer, and I write permits for concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Chadwick, and I work for Water Resources Division out of the Lansing District Office as a CAFO compliance staff.
All right, thank you all for those introductions. We have a presentation for you tonight as part of the information session that I believe Becky is going to present on. So Rebecca, just let me know when to move on with your slides and I'll change them for you.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone again. My name is Rebecca Maurer, and I'm a permit writer in the Water Resources Division. I write permits for CAFOs, and as a reminder, CAFO stands for Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation. Today, I'll be presenting on the proposed issuance of a discharge permit for KB Dairy LLC's CAFO. Next slide, please. Before jumping into the permit, I wanted to provide some more background information. We are part of the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, or EGLE. EGLE's job is to protect Michigan's environment and public health by managing air, water, land, and energy resources. Next slide, please. Within EGLE, we are part of the Water Resources Division. Water Resources Division is tasked with ensuring Michigan's waters are safe and clean for what we call protected uses, which include things like drinking, recreation, fishing, and a healthy overall aquatic ecosystem. Water Resources Division has a variety of programs such as wetland and floodplain regulation, critical dune protection, and permit issuance, which we'll discuss today. Next slide, please. Within Water Resources Division, we are part of Permit Section, which is responsible for issuance of all wastewater discharge permits to both surface and groundwaters of the state of Michigan. My unit issues National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES, permits for CAFOs. Next slide, please. We issue permits under the Natural Resource and Environmental Protection Act, or NREPA 451. Part 31, Water Resources Protection of NREPA, regulates all wastewater discharges in the state of Michigan. Within Part 31, there are a number of administrative rules that have been promulgated. In particular, we operate under the Part 21 wastewater discharge permit rules that set standards for NPDES permits and the Part 4 water quality standards, all of which allow Water Resources Division to implement the law. That is, they provide the specifics of how to do it. Next slide, please. Who needs a CAFO permit? Not all livestock farms need a CAFO permit. There are two ways a farm may need a permit. Either they meet a specific animal number threshold, or EGLE determines they are a significant contributor of pollutants to surface water. The threshold for dairy facilities is 700 or more mature dairy cows. Dairy LLC CAFO proposes to house 2,000 to 3,450 mature dairy cattle. Next slide. Throughout this presentation, I may use the full name Dairy LLC CAFO, or I may shorten it to KB Dairy. KB Dairy applied for an NPDES CAFO permit. They propose to construct and operate a dairy CAFO in Middleton, Michigan, Gratiot County. Next slide. We like to remind people that a CAFO discharge permit does not eliminate the need to obtain any other permits or approvals from other units of government. Next slide. Here's a map of the proposed CAFO location. Next slide, please. The legal entity of the proposed CAFO is KB Dairy LLC. It is adjacent to another CAFO called DeSager Dairy CAFO. That CAFO's legal entity is DeSager Dairy Inc. Since these two CAFOs have separate owners, they will have separate CAFO permits. Next slide, please. KB Dairy LLC CAFO proposes to house an average of 2,000 cattle annually and a maximum of 3,450 cattle. KB Dairy proposes to send its waste to an anaerobic digester. After digestion, the waste would return to KB Dairy's waste storage structures. They propose to have 10 waste storage structures consisting of underground storage tanks, storage ponds, underhouse pits, and concrete pads. The CAFO proposes to transfer all their CAFO waste to other parties. This transfer is called manifesting. Part 31 and associated administrative rules allow a CAFO to manifest their waste. Next slide. On average, KB Dairy proposes to produce 16,725,701 gallons of liquid CAFO waste and 15,715 tons of solid CAFO waste annually. At a maximum, KB Dairy proposes to produce 34,893,155 gallons of liquid CAFO waste and 27,109 tons of solid CAFO waste annually. Based on the maximum amount of waste the CAFO would produce and the amount of storage space they propose, KB Dairy would be able to store all the liquid CAFO waste generated by the CAFO in 9.5 months and all the solid waste stored at the CAFO in 6 months. Next slide. You may have questions about site selection, We recommend you visit the MDARD Livestock Selection Process webpage. You may have questions about anaerobic digesters and the My Healthy Climate Plan. We recommend you visit the EGLE Office of Climate and Energy webpage. You may have questions about zoning. We recommend you visit the local Fulton Township Planning webpage. And you may have questions about business entities. We recommend you visit the Licensing and Regulatory Affairs webpage. Next slide. That concludes our brief presentation for the proposed issuance of KB Dairy LLC CAFO's draft permit. But before we move on to the question and answer session, I'm going to address how to submit comments in MindViro for anyone interested in submitting comments after the public hearing. Please note, you do not need a MindViro account to leave a comment. Starting from the MindViro homepage shown here, select the Public Notice Search option, which is outlined in green on this slide. Next slide. That will take you to a page that looks like this. In the search bar, under the word Site, type out KB space dairy, and then select the View/Submit Comment button on the right side of the screen. Next slide. That will take you to this page. You can select the Documents tab to view the draft permit and related documents, or you can select the Add Comment button at the top of the page to take you to the comment submission form. Next slide. This is what the comment submission form should look like. The only required items are your name, email address, and the comment you'd like to leave. However, there are other fields you can fill out, including uploading an attachment. Once you've filled out the form, click Submit, and you're done. That's it for me. I'm going to hand things back over to Ryan.
All right, many thanks for that presentation, Rebecca. It's very helpful and lots of good information in there. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the question and answer session for tonight. So everyone will have an opportunity to ask a question. You can either submit your question using the Q&A box in your Zoom toolbar. You'll see that at the bottom of your screen. Just go ahead and type your question in and send it to us. You can click your raised hand icon at the bottom of your screen if you want to ask your question out loud. So what that will do is raise your hand in Zoom. I will call on you and then unmute you. You'll be able to ask your question, and then you'll be remuted after the question is completed. If we have any phone-in callers, calling in by phone was an option for this hearing. You can select star 9. And if you hit star 9, what that will do is raise your hand in Zoom, and we'll call on you using the last 4 digits of your phone number. And then we'll unmute you. You'll be able to ask your question on your telephone. We're going to do this Q&A session until 6:45 at the latest. Like I mentioned, if we end our questions early, we'll take a short break and then resume the hearing portion of tonight at 6:45. All right, so with that, I would like to invite our panelists to turn their cameras on, and then I will start to go through the questions that we have received. So if you have a question, I should mention this is the only time during the evening where we're going to be answering questions. So please, if you have a question, please take advantage of this opportunity to ask a question of our panelists. All right, so I have the first question is how will EGLE regulate the more water soluble digestate? So anybody who can, I guess, speak to that a little bit? And if we need more clarification, we can also ask for that to be provided. I don't know, thoughts, Rebecca?
Can I pass that one over to Amanda, and maybe she can indicate if we need some more detail?
Yeah. Currently, we do not have different permit requirements for the land application of digestate. If the person has some ideas on how to do that differently or different requirements, we would recommend that they submit that as a public comment.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. And I should mention too that we're going to be taking comments later on tonight. So this is for the Q&A session. So yeah, save those comments and we'll make sure everybody has an opportunity to make those comments tonight. Next question is, under which permit year of court decision will KB be regulated? There have been changes to the permit.
Amanda, I'll pass that one to you too.
Yeah, so we are in a bit of an interesting place, but if you had an opportunity to review the draft permit, which is in the chat, you can review what is our proposed draft permit for this facility. Are there more specific, I guess, questions related to that?
That's the only one in here right now. So thank you. And
So I
then,
guess if there is some clarification, yeah, if you want to provide more detail, please do so.
yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, to type those in and send it to us. Or again, asking your question out loud is an option. The next question here is anaerobic digestion a form of waste treatment? That is, does it reduce the toxicity or nutrient content of the waste?
Anaerobic digestion does reduce the bacterial content in the waste. If Amanda or Bruce, if you want to add anything onto that, you can.
Yeah, I think Becky, you're right. There's been some studies to show it reduces some bacterial load that's yet to be fully seen, but it doesn't reduce the nutrient content or much of the volume. It is just it's a process that the manure goes through that captures the methane, and that's used as a fuel most of the time, and then the manure is returned transformed, but not necessarily different.
All right. Thanks, Bruce. All right. Are there any other questions out there? It looks like, okay, here we go. Did EGLE consider any alternatives to issuing the NPDES CAFO permit?
The department received a complete application from the facility that met all the regulatory requirements, and we are required to issue permits if they meet those requirements. And so we proceeded with drafting this permit.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca. Will this be an individual permit?
Yes.
Okay.
The draft permit is an individual permit.
Will groundwater monitoring be required?
No direct monitoring, like directly taken from the groundwater, is required. This permit does not authorize a discharge to groundwater, only discharges under very specific circumstances to surface water.
Okay. Thank you. Does Sauger Dairy currently have a groundwater discharge permit?
The department is processing a permit modification for DeSauger. There will be a public notice, an opportunity to provide comment with that draft permit, but they do propose to a site that would require groundwater requirements, but it's not ready to be shared at this time.
All right, and then there's a follow-up. Can you provide a timeline for that groundwater discharge permit? I guess modification that you just mentioned for the Sauger Dairy groundwater discharge permit, what they're proposing. That, I guess, a timeline is what the question is related to.
We don't have a specific date yet.
Okay. All right, thanks. There's another question. Please explain please an individual permit. I guess maybe I'm just going to ad-lib and contrast it with what a general permit is, 'cause those are kind of the two, right? Or anything else you want to add?
Yes, so a general permit is written in a way where it contains all the requirements that a specific site may need. And then there is what I like to think of as a cover page that's called a certificate of coverage, or COC, that specifies which part of the permit is applicable and if there's any site-specific information that needs to be included. For an individual permit, they typically have conditions that make a general permit, or really the cover page document, the COC, not the best permitting option. So for those sites, we develop an individual permit.
All right, thank you. Just going to look to see if we have any raised hands here, and we do. All right, Marguerite Clevenger. Marguerite, we are going to unmute you, and then you can unmute yourself and then ask your question. Sorry if you had your hand raised there, I didn't see it right away. Are you there?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I just wanted a follow-up question about which permit, because so we had the 2015 permit that was challenged when the 2020 came out, and then that went to court. The administrative judge made a decision about what could be used. That was challenged, and then the director of EGLE came out with a decision. And so I'm just confused as to which one of those points in history are you using to permit this CAFO?
Okay.
Yeah, so this is an individual permit, so it is not a general permit. It has not gone through that process that you detailed. So the conditions within that permit have been developed and it is available. I guess I'm not really clear exactly what you're asking. If point by point you want us, I guess we're not going to be able to point by point tell you which conditions may have shown up in which 2015, 2020, or 2025 or director decision permit. So I would, I guess, recommend that you take a look at the individual permit that's been drafted. And if you have concerns about those particular conditions, to submit that as a public comment.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for your question and for the answer, Amanda. I have two here that appears are related from the same person, but I want to read them both. So the first one is, please confirm that the reduction in pathogens does not eliminate pathogen or constitute a process to significantly reduce pathogens. And then there's some clarification. Please inform the audience that reduction in pathogens due to anaerobic digestion does not eliminate pathogens or constitute a process to significantly reduce pathogens. AD should not be relied upon as a method of treatment of pathogens. I guess anything. So the question is, please confirm that the reduction of pathogens does not eliminate pathogen or constitute a process to reduce pathogens. I guess that's something we could provide confirmation on to answer that question.
Sure. I'm happy to provide confirmation that it doesn't reduce all. Anaerobic digestion does not reduce or eliminate all pathogens.
All right. All right, thank you. All right, will the location of the fields where waste is manifested be available to the public?
Manifesting information will be available to the public. So the draft permit requires the CAFO to submit the land application summary form for fields on which their CAFO waste is was applied. So this information is submitted to the department using the My Enviro portal and will be available on the KB Dairy CAFO site in the My Enviro Explorer. This information has to be submitted quarterly, and response number 12 in the department's, I think Jim dropped this in the chat at 6:21. The department's response to comments received. If you look at that document, there's some additional detail in response 12 about manifesting.
All right, thank you very much. Under what circumstances would a permit be denied at this stage?
We're proposing to issue a permit, and we'll consider any additional information obtained from this hearing prior to making a decision.
All right, thank you. Has EGLE incorporated any information it has learned about the DeSauger site during this permit modification process into the KB Dairy draft permit, and then why or why not?
They are considered separate owners, separate entities. So under the law, they need to have separate permits. So besides verifying the two different entities, any other information is relevant to DeSauger Dairy, and KB Dairy is a separate permit.
I guess if you want to provide some clarification, or I can provide some clarification, we're always learning new things from experiences. So I don't know if you're talking about like experience with environmental concerns, but we do make changes in draft permits or our individual permit templates as we gather new information. So if that helps, we try not to be stagnant, although we have struggled, as you may know, with some legal things as we have tried to make changes in our permits, but we do try and adapt to continue to make changes to protect public health and the environment as we move forward with permitting. So in case your question was related to making changes based on environmental or public health concerns, not just looking at the business entities. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you much. Before we go into the next question, just a reminder, we have quite a few people on the phone. If you're on the phone and you want to ask a question, you're more than welcome to. Just select *9 on your receiver. That will raise your hand in Zoom, and we'll call on you using the last 4 digits of your phone number. And people who are on the computers are welcome to raise their hand and ask a question as well. Just select the raise hand icon. Or we can continue going through the Q&A box with all the questions that you're submitting. All right, so next one, as this is listed as separate ownership, KB Dairy from DeSauger Dairy, but being they are located adjacent to each other, they're essentially the same operation. Is this current permit application a workaround to not exceed DeSauger Dairy permit limitations?
This is a permit that the department has developed based off of the application that was submitted. Can't speak to any of the decisions made to submit that application, but I can speak more to the common ownership and why the department has, is issuing this as a separate permit, if that is a question.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. Next one is, I think, more of a compliance-related question, maybe. How can we be assured that manifested waste will be properly land applied?
I just need a moment to look at some more information that I can follow up on.
Yeah, no problem. And I do have a raised hand, so after this question, we'll go to that caller with the raised hand.
Okay. So the Part 21 administrative rules allow for manifesting of CAFO waste, and then the department requires that the actual manifest that this term of transferring waste got called a manifest, the actual manifest that's filled out, it requires the permittee to declare the following statement. I hereby declare that the large CAFO waste is accurately described above and is suitable for land application. I further certify that I have provided the CAFO waste storage structures and land application of CAFO waste requirements of my permit to the recipient, and the current nutrient analysis containing the necessary information for land application at agronomic rates for the waste described above has been provided to the recipient. I confirm I received BRAE-P1 soil testing information for the fields that will receive CAFO waste prior to transferring CAFO waste.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. Anything else related to, I guess, making sure that they're properly applied, or what the process is related to that, or does that pretty much flesh out the answer? Just want to make sure we have it fully covered before we move on to the proponent caller.
Yeah, from a compliance standpoint, I mean, we can't be assured that anything is properly done, because we're not always out there. So based on what Becky just read, the conditions of the permit, we can enforce those conditions. And should we find out that a recipient is not properly land applying, then we can take actions as outlined in the permit. That's the best we can do at this point.
All right, thanks, Bruce and Rebecca. All right, next, so I have a phone-in caller, last four digits, 0659. We're gonna unmute you, and then you should be prompted to unmute yourself and ask your question. All right, are you there, phone-in caller? It looks like you're unmuted on our end. All right, let me try ask to unmute to see if we can get you unmuted. Nope, I think you're unmuted now, caller. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. I do. I want to ask a question. If the folks that issue the permits are concerned about environmental issues, have any of them talked to the close neighbors of the DeSager who could kind of fill them in on that?
Any thoughts?
Are you there?
Yep, we're here.
Amanda,
Okay.
could you help with that one?
Sure, we don't specifically reach out to neighbors of any permitted facilities. We do offer this public process, so all permits are individual permits are public noticed, and we have this hearing today. So that is our process on obtaining public input.
Yeah, and I should mention that the next, next part of the evening, a little bit later on, is where we'll be taking those comments. So you're welcome to hang on until later on tonight and make a statement and provide any information that you want related to this process. So thank you. All right, next question. Is there any limit on the number of CAFOs or CAFO animals that EGLE will allow in Gratiot County?
Amanda, can I pass that one to you too?
Sure. EGLE does not put a limitation. This can exist in a certain place, so that sounds more like a zoning type question, which would be under the local township authority.
All right, thanks, Amanda. Only thing I have left in here right now is question statement saying the question: under what circumstances would a permit not be issued was not answered. I know you mentioned taking comments into consideration and so forth. Is there anything else that you want to add for that, I guess, question, comments?
Yeah, if new information were brought up, we would evaluate it. They submitted a complete application, and under the law, we're required to issue a permit that if it meets the appropriate requirements.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Rebecca, for that additional info. Are there any other questions out there? We still have a few minutes in case there are other questions that you are curious about or would like answered. And then I should mention too, if we move on to the next part of tonight, which is the part where we're going to take statements, we're not going to answer questions at that point, but we are going to provide Rebecca's contact information in case you have a question later on, so that you can contact her directly and ask your question once we're beyond this question and answer session, just so you know how things will roll tonight. All right. And there's a couple statements in here, just so you know, if you have a statement, please hold on to that until we actually go through the statement portion. We're kind of going to reserve the next few minutes here for questions that come in. So if you have a question for the panel, feel free to ask those. And again, there's a few different ways to do that. You can type your question in the Q&A box. You can raise your hand by clicking the raise hand icon. We'll call on you using your last name. Or if you're on the phone and would like to ask a question, you can select *9 on your phone, and that will raise your hand. If we don't have any more questions, or once we wrap up with questions, we'll take a quick break until 6:45, and then we'll move on with the hearing part, where we'll take your statements for the record on this permit. Do you know how the transfer of waste goes to the father's property for digestion?
Regarding how the waste goes to the digester, it's sent directly by a pipe. And then it goes through the digestion process, and then it is sent directly back to KB Dairy LLC, CAFO's waste storage structures. And there is some information about like a description of that flow, like how it's going from one place to another, that's available in the application in My Enviro. But if you leave that as a comment, we can also provide some further detail on that flow.
All right, thank you. How will the department, well, actually, I'm going to read this one because it was related to the pipe. Does the pipe make it a different type of permit?
It does not change KB Dairy LLC's permit, no.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, and then the next question, how will the department ensure that the DeSeger and KB will be operating as two entities and not as one?
That sounds like a compliance question. If one of the compliance people want to speak to that.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we do regular inspections of these permitted facilities, typically once in a 5-year period, but we do tend to get out to these CAFOs more often than that, doing reconnaissance inspections. So at the time of the inspection, we will evaluate whether or not these entities are in fact operating as two separate and not one.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any other questions out there? And again, if there aren't any others that come in, we'll take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and take your statements. And I'm not seeing any other questions come in, so I think that's what we're going to do, is we're going to end the informational session right now, and we're going to take a short break. So you have a chance to stretch your legs, prepare your comments on what you're going to say, and then we'll explain how we're going to do take your statements and do the hearing portion when we come back. So no need to log off, just you can leave your camera up and we'll go ahead and start in about 5 minutes. And then we'll also allow our panelists to have a short break. All right, thank you. All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope you're able to take a minute take a short break if you needed to. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next part of the evening. But before we do so, I just want to remind you that there's some other ways you can make a comment in case you didn't want to make a statement tonight verbally or out loud when we go through that portion. You know, as we kind of talked about, you can make a comment through EGLE's My Enviro system, and you can provide your comments directly by accessing the public hearing event. There's a link we'll also send you, and then in Rebecca's presentation, she also explained how to make a comment through My Enviro. It'll be under KB Dairy LLC CAFO, CAFO. So that's another one option. Another option is by mail. That's to Rebecca Moore, Permit Section, Water Resources Division, Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, P.O. Box 30458, Lansing, Michigan 48909-7958. The comment period will remain open until February 10th, 2026. So you have until then to make your comments. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start the hearing portion. I have, as a hearings officer, I have a statement that I'll read. It's quite lengthy, just to give you a heads up. But it's going to provide some background and then also explain how the comment process is going to work today. So just bear with me while I read our opening statement. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the public hearing. As mentioned, I'm Ryan Blazik with EGLE ESD, and I'll be the hearings officer tonight. Andrea Munoz Hernandez, permit section manager, is the decision maker for the permit application. We'll be listening to your comments this evening. Along with her is Amanda Bozak, a water quality and aquatic nuisance control permits unit supervisor, and Rebecca Maurer, environmental quality analyst, who developed the proposed permit. EGLE will consider all comments received prior to acting on the proposed permit. And to provide some background, the public hearing will be used to accept comments on the proposed surface water discharge permit for KB Dairy LLC Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation, or CAFO. KB Dairy LLC has applied to EGLE for a permit under Part 31 of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. KB Dairy LLC proposes to construct and operate a CAFO in Gratiot County, Middleton, Michigan 48856, housing a number of animals that requires a CAFO surface water discharge permit. KB Dairy LLC proposes to have the required amount of CAFO waste storage. EGLE granted a request for this public hearing based on comments received during the public notice of the draft National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES permit. The permit notice was held from September 18, 2025 to October 18, 2025. This public hearing will be used to accept additional comments on the draft permit. The Water Resources Division is responsible for regulating water quality to minimize adverse impacts on public health and the environment. All NPDES permitted discharges to surface waters of the state include permit conditions that meet Federal Clean Water Act and applicable state law. NPDES permits are required to protect public health and to meet all designated uses of that receiving water. EGLE proposes this draft NPDES permit meets these requirements. How the comment process will work today. For those of you pre-registered to attend the hearing and indicated you'd like to make a comment, we will call your name and unmute your microphone so you can make your comment. We will call your name in the order in which you registered. Once we have called all the names of everyone who indicated they want to make a comment during registration, we will open it up to comment from other attendees. At that time, if you have not made a comment and wish to do so, please click the raise hand icon to indicate you want to make a comment. We will call on those who have their hand raised to make a comment in the general order in which their hand was raised. Each person will have 3 minutes to make their comment. I will indicate when you have 1 minute left and when your time has expired. If I indicate your time has expired, please wrap up your comments immediately so that we can allow the next person to make their comment. Please be sure to state your name and any organization you represent prior to starting your comment. This hearing is being recorded, and your comments will become part of the information EGLE will consider in its decision concerning the proposed draft permit. Comments received will not be responded to during the hearing, but will be included in response to public comment documents and become part of the permanent record. All comments and information received will be available in the My Enviro portal, our online database. The public comment period is going to be open until February 10th, 2026. All right, we're going to go ahead and start taking comments. And then just to reiterate how we'll do it, we're going to start with the people who indicated during registration they want to make a comment. So we'll call your name, we'll unmute you, you'll be able to unmute yourself, you can make your comments. You'll have 3 minutes. You'll see a countdown timer that counts down from 3 minutes in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. So you'll be able to tell how much time you have left. And then when you get down to 1 minute, you're going to hear this sound to indicate you have a minute left. So if you hear that ding, it just means you have a minute. And then once you get through your 3 minutes, if you get to the end, then I'll ask you to wrap up your comments. You don't have to use your entire 3 minutes. It's totally up to you. However, it will be one opportunity per person. So one comment per person at 3 minutes each. Once we get through that list of names, and there's 14 names who indicated during registration they want to make a comment, then we'll go to anyone else who has not made a comment, since it's one comment per person. If you haven't made your comment, you can raise your hand, click the raise hand icon. If you're on the phone, you can click the raise hand icon by selecting *9 as well, and that will raise your hand. Everyone will have an opportunity to make a comment tonight. If your name is called and there's other people who are on the line who would like to make a comment as well, just let me know that, and then we'll make sure everybody who's on the line during that turn has an opportunity to make a comment. And I think that's all the information I have before we go ahead and get started. So first off is Cheryl Rubel, and then after Cheryl is Jill Hollister. So Cheryl, what we're going to do is unmute you, and it looks like we've unmuted you, so you can unmute yourself. There should be a prompt to click the microphone icon and unmute yourself, and then you'll be able to make your comment. All right, so it looks like you're unmuted on Cheryl. Cheryl Rubel, you should be able to click your microphone and unmute yourself. And we'll give you a couple seconds to do that. And if you're not able to do that or having technical issues, what we'll do is we'll go on to the next person, and then you can continue to try to troubleshoot those. Okay. Oh, there you are. There, Cheryl? Or you can go ahead and make your comment, Cheryl. You're on. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comment once you start.
Should I go over there? Okay. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. You can go ahead and begin. If you have another computer on, you're going to want to turn it off or turn the volume off.
I'm at the watch party here. Okay.
Okay. So if you have more than one person on there, so if you can make your comment, and then once you're done with your comment, if you could just invite the next person to come to the microphone, and then they can state their name and make their comment. Okay. And we'll just keep doing that until we get through everybody.
Okay. All right. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. Cheryl Rubel, Montague, Michigan. The environmental and public health risks posed by CAFOs are determined by watershed and hydrogeologic boundaries and by on-the-ground operational reality, not by lot lines or corporate structure. The draft NPDES permit for KB Dairy LLC fails to adequately address the cumulative water quality impacts of adding yet another large CAFO in Gratiot County. Comprehensive nutrient management plans and the statewide E. coli total maximum daily load, which defers to those plans, do not adequately protect water resources, including groundwater, Michigan's 6th Great Lake. KB Dairy will confine nearly 3,500 cows adjacent to DeSager Dairy, an even larger CAFO, and a commercial anaerobic digester complex. KB Dairy will supply manure to the biogas facility, which recently added 2 new tanks to increase production capacity. Both dairies are owned by DeSager family-controlled entities, while the biogas plant is a partnership between DeSager entities and biogas companies. The dairies will share a common waste handling system, as evidenced by conduits for influent and effluent flows connecting KB Dairy to the digester tanks. The CAFOs and the digester will operate as one integrated livestock and manure to biogas system. KB Dairy is therefore an effective expansion of DeSager Dairy, regardless of parcel configuration or corporate ownership. KB Dairy highlights the pitfalls of manure-derived biogas production and digestate management. I gotta take a breath. First, pro-biogas policies reward manure generation and therefore favor ever larger CAFOs, accelerating consolidation and the loss of small to mid-sized livestock farms and driving CAFO expansion. The DeSager Dairy KB Dairy complex will confine one of the largest dairy herds in the state. Second, the nitrogen and phosphorus compounds in digestate are more water soluble, increasing the risk of runoff into surface waters and leaching into groundwater. These nutrients are also more plant available, and their concentrations vary depending on post-digestion processes. Agronomic application rates should be adjusted accordingly. Digestate and raw manure are not equivalent. Third, on-farm industrial scale anaerobic digesters producing methane for sale and distribution should not be treated as incidental farm add-ons, but subject to a regulatory framework to measure it with their scale, risk, and commercial function, including meaningful public oversight. Water quality in the Pine River watershed is already severely impaired, due in large part to manure runoff from CAFOs. Land application of manure and/or digestate from KB Dairy to farmland in the Pine River and nearby watersheds risks further degrading already impaired waters. At the least, EGLE must revise the KB Dairy draft permit to require robust site-specific water protective provisions, including well-defined conservation practices, a CNMP that accounts for the fundamental differences between raw manure and digestate, and mandatory baseline and ongoing groundwater.
Cheryl, you're out of time, so it'd be great if you
Better
could.
yet, rescind the permit. The Pine River watershed is awash in manure and E. coli.
All right, thank you. Yeah, feel free to invite the next person up, and we'll go ahead and
Okay.
start the timer.
Okay. Don't get my dirty.
This is Chelsea Faber.
All right, you can begin when you're ready, Chelsea.
Good evening. My name is Chelsea Faber. I work as the legal assistant for Flow Water Advocates, a nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting our Great Lakes. We have had the privilege of working with partner organizations and local residents to inform our work in this community. Today, we emphasize our opposition to the permitting of KB Dairy in Gratiot County. Based on an assessment of documents provided to EGLE by the applicant, the facility will essentially function as an extension of the adjoining and commonly owned DeSager Dairy. Flow identified records pertaining to an April 2025 mortgage in which Barthel and Elizabeth DeSager added multiple entities, including both DeSager Dairy and KB Dairy as borrowers in exchange for construction funds. The applicant's insistence that DeSager Dairy and KB are separate entities is an attempt to evade regulatory structures put in place to protect our fresh water. The courts have ruled in multiple instances that employing filing maneuvers to mislead regulators and avoid legal obligations is unlawful. While the applicant has asserted that they are operating under separate legal entities, EGLE should not accept this permit as a separate facility, given the contextual information presented at length in Flow's written comments. If the applicant wishes to retain common ownership, a permit properly covering both facilities under one operational structure should be implemented. EGLE has conducted their own sampling of existing waterways near the proposed facility. E. coli samples collected after a rain event have showed high increases as compared to those of standard dry sampling events. One sample collected nearest the proposed facility contained so many bacterial colonies it was too numerous to count. Legally, EGLE must apply the law and make decisions informed by science. Adding over 3,000 more animals to this already choked watershed fails to follow science or serve in the best interest of the environment and public health. We urge EGLE to deny this permit application because it misrepresents the intent of the project in an effort to avoid stricter regulations, including groundwater monitoring. This project will additionally significantly contribute to surface water degradation in an already compromised watershed, leading to further harm to an overburdened community. Flow urges EGLE to take common sense steps to protect the communities it serves. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your comment, Chelsea. And then while the next person is coming up, just a reminder that if you happen to run out of time with your 3 minutes, you can still provide comments by those other methods through My Enviro or in writing, in case you don't have time tonight. Just wanted to make that point. All right, is there somebody else up?
Yes, hi there. My name's Dennis Kellogg, and I'm a board member of the Michigan Farmers Union. And the Michigan Farmers Union is not against growth. What we are concerned about is the scale of the growth. And as we look at this facility that actually it's in New Haven Township, it's not in Fulton Township, as your introduction suggested. So I don't know what Fulton Township's got to do with it, other than that they have a Middleton address apparently for post office. But in any event, we're not against growth, but we're highly concerned about an industrial-sized facility such as what is there currently and appears is going to be even bigger. And we realize that the Right to Farm Act here enacted in the state of Michigan, we feel has been abused in a way that they're using that as to create what they have there right now. And we're certainly concerned about the groundwater and issues. I would invite the this group, the committee, to go to the Michigan Farmers Union website and look at our policy that we have published on CAFOs, and also the National Farmers Union policy as well. Having been said, I am a son of a dairy farmer, and I don't ever remember my dad or I taking a loaded manure spreader and driving it down through the streets of Ithaca, Michigan. Yet I see all these heavy loaded 10,000 gallon trucks or more going through there. And the odor that comes out of those things is just awful. And I know a family that's
Hey,
close
Dennis.
by. That's my minute. Okay.
We're gonna have to move on. We're gonna have to move on to the next person. Your time is up, and we need to make sure everybody has the same amount of time and the same opportunity.
Okay, fine.
Thank you. Could you, yeah, is there someone else there too who would like to make a comment?
We have one more speaker.
Okay, thanks.
Oh my goodness. Dale, you're in this with me. Okay. Hi, my name is Sarah, and I live less than half a mile away from a current CAFO that is owned by DeSagers. I'll try to make the story quick. I didn't realize we only had 3 minutes, but for the past 2 years and half of last year, it has absolutely reeked outside our house, and we could not, both of ours, like all around. It's horrible. It's putrid. The smell is disgusting. And that's, you know what, it is what it is. I thought, and everybody else thought, it was just the farm. That's how it is. I don't even know where I'm looking. So, I mean, even if you open your windows at night, I'm like, oh, the smell's got to be gone. We'll open them up. It would not go away. So a couple of times we had people drive by the farm, and I'm like, it doesn't smell out here. They had no smell emanating from that farm, hardly at all. And we had been noticing the irrigation system looked like it was pouring out brown, dirty water. And kept saying it. We said it over and over and over. It looks like crap is coming out of that. And we're like, You know, we just let it go until, like we said, there was no smell at the farm. And this might have not been smart of me or my neighbor, but I said, I'm tired of this and I'm going to find out. So I took a jug out to the farm where the brown crap was coming out of their irrigation system. And I collected, it wasn't a lot because it kept going back around. It was disgusting. It was dirty. It smelled 100% like manure. And we were probably out there for 10 minutes maybe, and they turned it off. And ever since then, they had not done it again. So I know they had a camera out there, and I showed them, I'm like, yes, we have your crap right here because it's disgusting and they should not be doing that. So my question is, how are you going to stop that from happening? Because you said, nope, you can't be there all the time. You're right, you can't be there all the time, but what's to stop them from doing that exact same thing? I have a 60-foot well that I just had to have put in, and I don't want that stuff seeping into my well or anybody else's. It's nasty, it's disgusting. I can't see. Oh, I'm sorry. It was just, and I know that, like I said, they had a camera, and I appreciate it. I didn't report it to anybody because after we done that, they had stopped doing it. And they no longer, the smell was gone, and it was actually a beautiful rest of the summer. And real quick, it's not just the farm that's around you, like 50, maybe 100 feet away from me, they also take a machine that sucks out the poop from the ground so they can distribute it to other areas. And it sounds like a generator going all day long. So in the spring, when it comes, there's a generator running. It's just annoying. It's an annoyance. And I know that's not that big of a deal, but it just shows me how big of an operation it is and how many people can be affected by this. So thank you.
And I apologize, I misspoke. We have one more speaker.
Okay, no, it's fine.
Hello, my name is Carrie Lasser. I am the attorney who drafted the 26 pages of comments that you got on this draft permit back in October. So clearly I have a lot to say, and I only have 3 minutes. So the issue that has continued to concern me, and I've spoken with some of your representatives about this particular permit. We're talking about a group of family entities, one of which is the DeSauger Dairy next door, that is, according to the numbers being confined there, responsible for having a groundwater discharge permit. It's never been obtained. It's still in process. And I question how an entity that is not fully in compliance with applicable law can be considered to have put a fully complete and legal application before EGLE. I would ask EGLE to reconsider the status of that application in light of the DeSauger's failure to obtain their required groundwater discharge permit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. All right, it doesn't appear Jill Hollister is on, so next up is Gary Mello, and then after Gary it will be Mary Blanchard.
Yeah.
And if I should also mention before Gary starts, and just to confirm, we don't have anybody else that's still on that line, that first line? All right, I'm going to assume no. Okay.
I choose not to comment.
Yep, you can go ahead, Gary.
I declined to comment. I didn't intend to.
Okay. Yep, no worries. All right, so next up then is Mary Blanchard, and then after Mary is Marguerite Clevenger. So Mary, you are unmuted. You can begin when you're ready.
My name is Mary Blanchard. I do not live in the area of the proposed CAFO. However, I am a person concerned with health and safety of people, animals, water, and the environment. I strongly believe that large animal operations such as KB Dairy proposed permit, which would house up to 3,480 animals, is detrimental in multiple ways. In this case, it appears the permit houses 5 times the number of animals than the threshold described. Animals housed in close proximity are more prone to illness and stress. Antibiotic use in animals often gets transferred to humans by the products produced and ingested by people. Antibiotics can also get passed on through water when excess waste gets into surface water systems, into drinking water wells, or the groundwater aquifer. Extreme waste created in these conditions of so many animals in one location will be a continuing problem. If anaerobic digesters are considered as a solution, methane capture will completely miss the methane produced by natural bodily functions of thousands of animals that will be released directly to the atmosphere. I'm also very concerned with the sludge that could be applied to land and the toxic contaminants that could be contained within that. As a taxpayer to the federal government and the state of Michigan, I object to my tax dollars being used for subsidies for infrastructure of any anaerobic digesters. These digesters have been built in other states, often with taxpayer subsidies, and some have already closed due to complicated technical nature of operating the digesters, or the investors realizing the profits are unsustainable. I understand that laws require each CAFO permit to be considered independently of nearby CAFOs. This is a law that needs to be changed. The cumulative effects of environmental impact often go well beyond property boundaries. I also believe that our government legislators and agencies need to work on laws and policies subsidizing small, sustainable farming operations that will be better for the health and safety of the people, the animals, the water, and the environment. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, thanks for your comment, Mary. All right, next up is Marguerite Clevenger, and after Marguerite is Valerie Shea. And I should mention, if I mention your name and you aren't logged in, we don't see your name, and you're actually on the phone, just be patient. We'll eventually come back to you. You still have your opportunity to make a statement. All right, so you can begin, Marguerite, when you're ready.
I'm Marguerite Clevenger. EGLE, thank you for your work. You are essential to our state's well-being. EGLE must continue to hold public hearings on CAFOs, telling us, as you did initially, that you didn't want to hold this hearing because residents were unable to speak publicly, only encourages more tactics to keep us scared and quiet. The potential for damage from large CAFO expansions needs to be heard by the public in order to protect Michigan's natural resources. The unintended consequences caused by digesters are recent and difficult to assess. The overall effectiveness of digesters, other than giving huge industrial dairy cow confinement farms cover, so that EGLE has difficulty regulating them and the digestate. Manure methane digesters and the California lucrative tax credits were developed as an answer to greenhouse gas and water pollution, but they're not. When California's nonpartisan legislative analyst's office policy report on agriculture came out in 2021, the report estimated water and greenhouse gas benefits could be overstated to the extent that on-farm efficiencies achieved allow operations to extend irrigated acreage or switch to more water-intensive product over the long run, also known as rebound effect, they said. This KB dairy is an example of a rebound effect, creating more cow dung on this acreage. And this dairy digester do-si-do that the family is planning is challenging. How will EGLE regulate this pipeline dance between the huge dairy CAFO existing and the new huge dairy CAFO, both resulting in huge amounts of dairy digestate to add to the Pine River watershed? If the manure digestate is piped back and forth and it breaks, is it then considered point source and regulated differently? There should be limits by watershed of how much a watershed can accept. As the number of factory farms increases in Michigan, our watersheds are compromised with too much manure and digestate from runoff. The public needs to be informed and public hearings are crucial. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right. It sounds like according to the Q&A, Valerie does not want to make a comment tonight. So next up will be John Pavlik, and then after John will be Justin Olson. So John, you are unmuted on our end, and you should be able to unmute yourself and can begin when you're ready.
Hi, my name is John Pavlik. I do live here in Gratiot County. I would like to say that Brom and Kelsey DeSager are the young folks behind KB Dairy in Middleton, Michigan. They are the same young folks who have grown up in the area, started a family here, and are now looking to build their future. They are well known and admired throughout our community, not because of their passion for the dairy industry, even though that is important, but rather they are respected for their enthusiasm and wanting their young family rooted here and the willingness to gamble on building a new family business of their own. To say that I know much about the dairy world is not accurate, but what I do know from listening to Brom and Kelsey is that they understand the dairy and they have a joy on their face when they tell me about it or if I ask questions, the pure joy on their face when asked about their way of life. And I don't mean just lately, but routinely over the many years that I have known them. Excuse me 1 minute. Anytime I run into them or our paths cross, their dialect and conversation always leads them to talking about their cows. They are excited to tell me about their newborn calves or how they plan on feeding their cows to produce quality dairy products. Oh, pardon me 1 second. Okay, here I go. They're also always excited when I ask them how are their cows doing. I truly think they consider their cows one of their own, or at least one of their own pets. I still don't quite get all the inner workings of what they do every day, but I do appreciate their enthusiasm for wanting to educate and enlighten people like myself. So again, Brom and Kelsey are the fledgling young adults that are KB Dairy. They are not some corporation or conglomerate, nor are they seasoned business entrepreneurs. They are simply two young adults wanting to make their way in this world by raising healthy cows that produce quality dairy products for my family, their family, and the public at large. So I say, Brom and Kelsey, I wish you best of luck and good wishes, and I consider it a privilege to know you and prosperity to you and your family. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. All right, next up is, looks like Justin Olson. Justin is not on. And then Justin Hess would be next. It looks like Justin Hess has your hand raised. So we're going to go ahead and unmute you. And then you can begin when you're ready, Justin.
Hi, I'm Justin Hess. I work out of Clinton Veterinary Service in St. John's, Michigan. I'd just like to state that I think it is great that Brom and Kelsey want to start their own dairy. They've both worked in agriculture for many years, which I have had the opportunity to get to know them both. They live and are raising a beautiful young family in the same community that they want to start this dairy operation. And they both love nature and the outdoors, everything that Michigan has to offer, from waterways to hunting land, and also to the land that allows them to operate a dairy. In my opinion, they're exactly who should own and operate a dairy farm in the state of Michigan. Bram and Kelsey, I wish you the best, and many, many successful years to come in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, next person is Kelsey DeSager. It does not look like Kelsey's on, and then so that'll be Russell Seiferling. Oh, Kelsey is on.
Okay. Hi, yes, I'm on.
Okay, feel free to begin.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Like you guys mentioned, my name is Kelsey DeSager, and I am here with my husband, and we are here as the owners of KB Dairy. We want to take a moment to share who we are, because this permit's not just a project to us, it's our family's future. Bram and I were married in 2021, and shortly thereafter began growing our family, and we built our first home just a few miles away from our farm. We have 2 kids, ages 1 and 3, and we're actually expecting our third in just 2 short weeks. And our kids are at the forefront of our minds when making decisions regarding our family's future, because as we know, the decisions that we make today are what our children will live with tomorrow. Therefore, clean water, healthy land, and a strong rural community are not just an idea to us, it's personal. My husband is a second-generation American dairy farmer, though his family's dairy roots actually go back further to Belgium, where he was born. Dairy farming is part of his heritage. I did not grow up on a dairy farm. I found this industry through chance, and I fell in love with it. I built my own career and passion within it. We intentionally chose to pursue a life of dairy farming together because, as any fellow farmer knows, this is not a job. It's a life choice. And it's not always the easy and practical decision. We chose this life because first and foremost, we love our cows and we appreciate the land that feeds our cows. But most of all, we feel pride and responsibility putting food on the tables of our fellow community members and fellow Americans. We heard, excuse me, when we had the opportunity to start a dairy of our own, we did not take it lightly. This farm represents years of planning, financial sacrifice, risk, and commitment. And it also represents our decision to build a life here in this community and to do it responsibly. We understand there are concerns and strong opinions surrounding CAFO permits. We want to make it very clear that we care deeply about the environment and about being good neighbors. For us, protecting the land and water is not a box to check. It's essential to our farm's survival and to our family's future. We live here, we raise our children here, and we drink the same water as everybody else in this community. We entered the EGLE permitting process knowing it would be thorough and demanding, and we respect that. We have worked closely with professionals within and outside of the EGLE organization to understand the requirements and to meet them. We welcome oversight and accountability because we believe responsible farming should be transparent and held to clear standards. We are asking tonight that our permit be considered based on facts and the regulatory process, and that you see us not as a faceless operation, but as a family trying to build something sustainable, ethical, and lasting. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our story and for considering our application.
All right. Thanks for your comments, Kelsey. We're going to go back up. Justin Olson is on. So Justin, we're going to unmute you. Sorry we missed you in the audience. And then we're going to move on to Russell Seiferling.
Good evening.
Yep. Go ahead and begin.
My name is Justin Olson. I'm the Director of Membership for Dairy Farmers of America, in short, DFA. DFA represents more than 6,000 dairy farming families across the United States who meet or exceed applicable regulatory requirements in the states in which they operate, as well as the expectations of their many customers. I am submitting these comments in support of the new and entrepreneurial dairy operators, Bram and Kelsey, operating as KB Dairy LLC, under permit MI 0060380. The proposed operation will be located in Middleton, Michigan, in Gratiot County. DFA supports the proposed plan developed by these operators with assistance from their consulting firm in coordination with guidance from EGLE staff. This plan meets the statutory and legal requirements of the state of Michigan and includes, but is not limited to, the following elements: a detailed record-keeping plan for quarterly and annual reporting, manure storage systems that meet NRCS engineering standards, a comprehensive nutrient management plan, emphasizing the use of natural nutrients in place of chemical fertilizers, a field mapping system that accounts for setbacks and ensures nutrient application rates align with soil needs, operating procedures designed to routinely inspect farm systems and proactively address potential issues, a communication plan that provides for coordination with EGLE staff under certain weather conditions. In addition to these measures, there are numerous other water quality protections included in KB Dairy LLC's plan that cannot reasonably be detailed within this timeframe. DFA believes that once KB Dairy begins operating under permit MI 0060380, the operation will meet and exceed the permit requirements and effectively protect local water quality. We respectfully support KB Dairy LLC's application and encourage the department to approve the permit. In an era of farm retraction, it is exciting to see young operators who want to become involved in production agriculture. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your comments, Justin. All right. So next up is Russell, and then after Russell is Elizabeth Holmes. So Russell, it looks like you are unmuted. You can begin your comment when you're ready.
I'd love to do that. First and foremost, thanks to EGLE for providing time for comments and questions on this site. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Russ Seiferlein, and I'm a partner at Clinton Veterinary Services in St. John's, Michigan. I work with many dairies in the area along with Dr. Hess, who spoke earlier. But this new and coming dairy has a special spot in my heart. I've known the owners for quite some time, one a little bit longer than the other. I first met Bram when he was young. I can't remember exactly how old he was, but 7 or 8 years old probably. Since I met him, I've watched him grow and blossom into a very hardworking, conscientious, caring, and thoughtful young man. I've watched him meet the love of his life, Kelsey, and marry her, and they have 2, almost 3 wonderful children together. It's been fun to watch their family grow. Through their immense undertaking at building a dairy, Bram and Kelsey have shown me how hard work and perseverance will help to impact untold numbers of lives. This farm will likely employ at least 35 people and have indirect effects on hundreds of others. The economic impact of the surrounding area has already been and will continue to be quite staggering. Increased economic viability of surrounding individuals, crop farmers, laborers, trucking companies, fuel companies, local shops, restaurants, hotels, grocery stores, gas station, barbers, schools, and almost every shop that lines the streets of most of our local towns. In addition to this, I know that Bram and Kelsey will operate this dairy in a very environmentally friendly and caring way. From past experiences with them, I know that they will follow the given guidelines and procedures that are put forth by governmental agencies, and they will be careful how much groundwater that they will utilize for the dairy, knowing that it impacts the lives of all of us and everyone who lives in this beautiful state and local area. I'm very excited to see how KB Dairy will impact in a positive way the environment, the lives of others, and the dairy cows that will live there. Best of success, Bram and Kelsey.
Thank you for your comment, Russell.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up is Elizabeth Holmes, and Elizabeth is going to be the last person on our list of registrations. So the registration list was taken at around 2 o'clock. So if you registered after that, your name won't be read. Just please raise your hand. Everyone has an opportunity to make a comment. If you haven't made a comment and you would still like to, please raise your hand in Zoom. And if you're on the phone, select *9 on your phone, and that will raise your hand, and the phone-in callers will have an opportunity to make a statement as well. So with that, sorry for the delay. You can begin, Elizabeth, when you're ready.
Thank you. My name's Elizabeth Holmes. I am Senior Counsel with the Socially Responsible Agriculture Project.
We have staff in Michigan. I myself am a Michigan native from Lansing and also Sault Ste. Marie. We work on CAFO permits across the United States at the state and local levels. SRAP joined Flow in commenting back in October 2025, and we're planning on submitting comments for February 13th, not February 10th, but February 13th. And just to provide a summary of some of the things that we think are most important to highlight for today, for this KB application, there's missing information for EGLE to really be able to draft meaningful terms and conditions for the permit. So we encourage EGLE to deny the permit, and really how to get that information to properly evaluate the terms and conditions that are necessary for this permit. We advocate that both entities need to be subject to groundwater permits, not just modified permits, but groundwater permits, and that they both need to be under one individual permit to resolve both the common ownership issue and the problem that DeSager Dairy has, which is that it's been continually on administratively extended permits for years. Currently, we think that the KB Dairy permit application is really being looked at in a vacuum when it comes to the common ownership issue and how the shared infrastructure works for the DeSager Dairy and the KB Dairy. The issue of common ownership, it's not merely a paperwork exercise, and it's not simply legally sufficient to look at an applicant's representation for what they think is the ownership representation. Permit frameworks must be viewed in light of other laws to determine the rights and duties and liabilities. This involves state law, but also federal law, which state permits are based on. There's clearly an extensive overlap here on paper, on property, and on permit-related activities. And EGLE must do more due diligence to evaluate the extensive overlap between DeSager and KB, which really implicates not just the permitted entity, but the equity of the protections that are available to all of the public. Some of the infrastructure involves the digester connection pipeline, which I don't think has been evaluated, groundwater contamination, watershed impacts, the manifested waste. We'll provide more detail in our written comments. But right now, I just wanted to take time today to urge EGLE to do the necessary due diligence first, which includes creating a secure permit framework for the DeSager Dairy, and then evaluate what's necessary for the KB Dairy. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your comments, Elizabeth. All right, so we're going to move on to the raised hands. First up is Bridget Batter. And then after Bridget, we're going to go to phone and caller, last four digits, 0659. So Bridget, we just unmuted you. You can feel free to unmute yourself and begin when you're ready.
Sounds good. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Perfect. Sounds good. I'm Bridget Batter from Harvey's here in Carson City. I want to jump in as an owner-operator of a local agribusiness, just to give my perspective. I want to apologize. I did not prepare formal comments. I really wanted to see what the discussion was before I jumped into the conversation. So first off, I just want to state, our business is geographically very close to this location. So I feel like it's very important to share the positive impacts on our local community and beyond. Now, before I do that, I guess I just want to speak broadly for just a brief moment, because I feel ag gets negatively targeted. And I want us all to remember that agriculture is one of our largest economic drivers in the state, and it's vital to our overall economy. So, as many of you stated, it supplies direct and indirect jobs. So I actually see a lot of positives coming out of KB Dairy. Job creation, like I said, both direct and indirect on farm. I think a few people, I think one of the Clinton vet guys, mentioned all of the, impacts. It is very massive, and I don't think I can even really, gauge the impact because it can't be overstated. So now I also did want to speak towards how resources are being utilized. I'm very proud of our dairy industry in Michigan. because I think it's a great example of how we, as Michiganders, do utilize our resources. You know, we are the, you know, 5th largest producer overall, but we really are #1 in production per cow. You know, we don't waste resources. We really utilize them and try to do our best in the most responsible and efficient way possible. And I believe that Kelsey and Brom 100% do that. So that's kind of my overall ag, you know, comments that have been stated. It sounds like, you know, there's obviously laws and regulations that are set. Sounds like they submitted the proper paperwork. So I'm not really sure on that side. However, I do want to speak about, you know, Brom and Kelsey as individuals. And I'm very glad a few other people have also spoken on that too. You know, I know them, have known them, I guess, more professionally, but I've gotten to know them very personally. And these are the people, I think one of you guys said it best. I was like making a couple notes, and I think these are the people you want operating dairy farms in Michigan. You know, these are people who are very invested in the community. They are community members. Like they said, they're raising their family here. They are looking out for, you know, all of us. And they don't want to do anything that's going to negatively impact the community, whether it's environmental or, you know, otherwise. So I don't think I can, overstate their character. I just don't think these people, I mean, these are the people you really do want operating dairy farms. They have everyone's best interests at heart.
Bridget, we're going to have to move on to the next.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry,
person.
that's all. Yeah, but I appreciate your time and appreciate the comments.
Yeah, thanks for your comment. All right, so next up is going to be phone in caller with the last 4 digits, 0659. We just unmuted you, and you should be able to unmute yourself. And are you there, caller?
I'm here.
Okay, you can begin your comment when you're ready. We can hear you.
Okay, my name is Virginia, and I'm not a corporation. I don't have an operation. I'm just part of the community. My family owns 2 farms, both less than 5 miles from DeSager. I have concerns. I don't want them to grow bigger. I don't want more cows in the area. I think it's very, very detrimental. I live with the violation of my civil rights by living close to DeSager. And I can tell you the water table is already bad. The water table might dry up because more cows equals more water usage. The air quality is horrible. The trucking, this is a road. This is not a truck route. And the trucks, sometimes we can't even go to the mailbox because the trucks are just ridiculous. There's been the DeSager Energy, they burn off waste, which permeates our homes. And with our water that comes from our well, we have to really be on top of changing the filters, much more so than we ever will, or ever were, excuse me. Our family has been in this area, one of our farms 1968, and the other one of our farms since 1982, and everything's just gotten worse. And really, reading about the E. coli, the phosphates, the nitrates, I'm just sick to my stomach. And I want somebody to stand up for people, not operations or corporations. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. All right. So next up is Dana Kirk. So Dana, we are going to unmute you, and then you can begin your comment.
Can you hear me, Ryan?
Yep, we can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments in support of KB Dairy and Kelsey and Brom DeSager. It's been a pleasure to work with them over the last 5 or 6 years on various projects there. My companies, SKS and Taurus Biogas, have been involved in the design and operation of the anaerobic digester facilities located near the KB Dairy site. Over the past year, our team has worked closely with the KB Dairy design and construction team to incorporate manure from the dairy into the digester system. As the dairy is designed today, manures collected from the barns will be conveyed directly via a pipeline to an adjacent sand manure separation system. And that system bedding sand is removed from the manure and washed so that it can be recycled and for reuse as cow bedding. After sand is removed, the manure is pumped directly into a dedicated anaerobic digester tank that's dedicated to KB Dairy. The digester produces methane, which is refined on site into renewable natural gas and injected into the nearby DTE pipeline for distribution and use. Effluent from the digester tank dedicated to KB is pumped to the covered lagoon to capture additional biogas as the material cools to ambient temperatures. After approximately 10 days in the covered lagoon, the effluent flows by gravity into the dairy's long-term manure storage structure, where it's held until it can be land applied. Throughout the entire process, from collection in the barns through the covered lagoon, manure is fully contained in buildings, pipelines, and storage structures, steel, concrete, clay, that all meet NRCS standards. There's multiple standards that have to be met to accommodate all the different devices, but all the standards are there. And the system is fully engineered and reviewed by licensed professional engineers. This complete containment eliminates exposure of manure to environmental conditions such as precipitation and allows for effective diversion of clean stormwater from the site. In addition, the anaerobic digester generates renewable energy while reducing odors, weed seeds, and potentially harmful bacteria. We believe the digester facility has become an important contributor to the Gratiot County economy. The facility employs 7 full-time individuals on site from our companies, in addition to our support staff and numerous local vendors who provide ongoing services. I appreciate the opportunity to support KB Dairy, Brahm and Kelsey in their goals of producing healthy, sustainable milk while implementing responsible environmental stewardship practices. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right. I don't have any other raised hands at this point. If I guess one comment per person. So if you have not yet made a comment and would like to make a comment tonight, please raise your hand. If you're logged in on your computer, select the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. If you're on the phone, press *9 and that will raise your hand. And so if you select *9 and you're on the phone, we'll call on you, use the last 4 digits of your phone number. So next up is Joe Tarkowski. So Joe, you can begin when you're ready. Are you there, Joe? It looks like you are unmuted on your end and our end, so we should be able to hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Joe Tarkowski. I'm a resident of Michigan and a dairy nutritionist with Cargill, serving dairy farms across the state of Michigan and surrounding states for more than 20 years. I help dairy farmers maintain strong cow health, consistent production, and sound feed management. I am writing or commenting in support of the permit for KB Dairy. I have been fortunate to observe many dairy operations of all sizes across the state of Michigan. And based on this experience, I can say the DeSager family is amongst the most responsible and proactive operators I've worked with. In my 10 years of working with them, they have stayed focused on compliance, good nutrient management, and sound animal husbandry. Their approach is amongst the best in the state. Kelsey and Brahm DeSager represent the next generation of dairy producers in Michigan. They are bringing proven management practices and strong technical understanding to their dairy, KB Dairy. Their plans show a clear commitment to meeting permit expectations and managing nutrients in a responsible way. Sustaining and growing the next generation of dairy producers is important to keeping Michigan's $2.7 billion dairy industry strong. Kelsey and Brahm are the type of young leaders this industry needs. KB Dairy will add approximately 35 new jobs to Gratiot County and support economic activity to many local businesses, including the feed mill that supplies feed to farms in the community. Cargill operates a feed manufacturing facility in Owasso, Michigan, that produces a significant amount of feed for dairies like KB Dairy. Our facility employs 8 team members and numerous truck contractors, as well as 6 field staff that all reside in Michigan. I am a member of that field staff and live over in Belding. Based on my experience and my direct work with Kelsey and Brom, I support the issuance or reissuance of the permit for KB Dairy. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your comment, Joe. All right, I'm not showing any raised hands at the moment, so if you haven't made a comment yet and you would like to select *9, it looks like we do have, looks like I've seen a couple, I think, people on the phone's hands going up and down. So right now I have phone and caller 4858 with your hand raised, and we just unmuted you. So if you have a comment, you can unmute yourself and begin. Are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. You can begin your comment when you're ready.
Okay. Okay, my name is Scott Barnes. I live 2.5 miles from DeSager's Farms. Something happened a bunch of years ago. And because of that, I really do not trust anything in the DeSager leadership, in the family. What happened a bunch of years ago is one day I was going to pick up my brother, who lives right across from DeSager Farms, and now has to have blackout curtains to sleep at night because of the fire coming out of their facility. But I noticed they had a sprinkler out there in one of the fields, and they were sprinkling, and I was laughing because it was making a great big pond of manure. I wonder how that's going to take forever to dry up, I thought. And I came back from work that day after coming home from work after a long day. And the workers from DeSager was digging a trench from this pond into the drain, into the county drain that goes into Pine Creek, that goes into Rainbow Lake. It was on a Friday night, and because of that, I really do not trust them, because that was a horrible thing to do. Okay, and I was wondering if my wife also has a comment she would like to make, if possible.
Yep, she can make a comment. You just put her on the line.
Hi, this is Val, and I have known Bram growing up from school. I have met him. He's a nice man, I'm sure, and I'm sure they're a nice family. They can continue to farm at the size that they are. What I feel like they should be doing is really, if they are concerned about being responsible, respected farmers in the community, they need to get what they have under control. And that means that they need to bring things up to specs instead of being non-compliant, as has been addressed earlier. They spread way too much waste on way too few acres. You just see it, they just soak it way too heavily. And they have a hard time getting more acres in the area because nobody wants to sell to them. Because when I sold my farm, my dad said, do not sell it to them. And when my in-laws sold theirs, do not sell it to them. Their dying wishes were, do not put that land in their hands, because they don't want to be responsible for destroying the farmland because they just spread it so heavily, and they're contaminating the water system, as people have been commenting earlier, that it's not good for the groundwater. So in addition to that, I saw it being spread just days before Christmas here. And I thought, well, Merry Christmas to those people who have to smell that over the holidays. You know, we live in the area. They're not horrible, but it's just a huge operation. And it's a factory. It's not really a family farm. And it's big enough for our area. We don't need to expand. They just need to be responsible. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your comment. All right. No raised hands at the moment. Again, there's still time. If you have not made a comment yet and would like to, you can select pound 9 if you're on the phone. I'm sorry, star 9 if you're on the phone, or you can click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. It looks like we do have a raised hand. Phone and caller, last 4 digits 2948. You are unmuted on our end, and you should be able to unmute yourself and begin your comment. All right, that's phone and caller 2948. Are you there? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
My name is Samantha Hall. Good evening, neighbors and community leaders. Thank you for giving me a few minutes tonight. I'm here to talk about something that is both simple and powerful, bringing a new dairy to our town, and what that can mean for all of us. At its heart, a dairy is about more than milk. It's about local food, local jobs, and local pride. This new dairy represents an investment in our community, one that keeps dollars circulating right here instead of sending them elsewhere. From construction and operations, transportation, retail, this project will create steady jobs and long-term opportunities for our families. We also know that with any new development, the big question is responsibility. And let me be clear, this dairy is committed to doing things the right way. That means modern equipment, strong environmental safeguards, careful water use, and strict animal care standards. Today's dairies are not what they were decades ago. They're cleaner, smarter, more efficient, and this one is designed with those values from the ground up. And there's something else that matters just as much, connection. This dairy plans to be part of the community, supporting local events, partnering with schools, and being open and transparent with neighbors. This isn't a business that shows up and disappears. This is one that puts down roots. Change can bring questions, and those questions deserve honest answers, and we welcome them. Open dialogue is how strong communities make strong communities. I'm sorry, hold on, I lost my spot.
No problem.
We welcome them. Okay, open dialogue is how strong communities make good decisions together. So tonight, I ask you to see this dairy not just as a building for a business, but as an opportunity for Kelsey and Bram DeSager. An opportunity for jobs, sustainability, and a stronger local economy. Thank you for your time and your commitment to the future of our town. And I want to say good luck to Kelsey and Bram. We know you guys will do great things. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. All right, anybody else out there who has not yet made a comment yet, I would like to, again, click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen or select star 9 if you're on the phone. If we don't have any other comments, we're going to move on to the next portion of tonight by going through those other ways to make a comment one last time, providing Rebecca's contact information in case you have any follow-up questions, and then closing out the hearing. And I'm still not seeing any other raised hands. But before we close out the hearing, it looks like there was some comment about the closing date for the public notice or for public comments. Can you provide clarification if it's the 10th or the 13th before I close out?
It is the 13th.
Okay.
Apologize for that inconsistency.
Okay. Nope, sounds good. Just for the people on the phone, I just wanted to confirm. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close out. Thank you all for making the comments. And so I have a closing statement, not quite as long as the opening statement, so I should get through it pretty quickly here. All right, so as a reminder, the public comment period for accepting written comments is open until February 13th, 2026. EGLE will consider all comments received until midnight on February 13th. Written comments may be submitted online in our EGLE My Enviro database. A link is being provided in the chat directly to the comment submittal form. So I believe we put that in the chat already, and you should be seeing it in front of you. Comments can also be submitted by mail. Thank you for your comments and cooperation. We appreciate your interest and that you took the time to be here this evening. The public hearing is now closed. Thank you again. And so, as mentioned, there's other ways to make a comment again, including the link. And then if you want to submit by mail, I'm going to read this off for folks on the phone. You can submit comments to Rebecca Maurer, Permit Section, Water Resources Division, Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, Post Office Box 30458, Lansing, Michigan 48909-7958. And again, it'll be open through February 13th, not 10th. All right, and here's Rebecca's contact information. Rebecca can be contacted at 517-667-8306. That's 517-667-8306. Or by email at maurerr1@michigan.gov. And again, that's maurerr1@michigan.gov. And I believe we just put that in the chat. All right, so thank you. Before we wrap up though, any closing comments for us, Andrea?
Yes, Ryan. So I just wanted to thank everybody to joining to this public hearing and for sharing their comments or their concerns. We fully understand that your time is valuable, so we really appreciate that. And we also appreciate that you're engaged in this process. So we will review the comments that were provided. As Ryan mentioned, the comment period will remain open until the 13th. So if you want to be submitting something between now and then, please do. We will review those, and they will be considered as we are actually moving forward to make the determination about these permits. So that's the only thing that I have to add, Ryan. And thank you so much again for everybody participating in this conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea, for those final comments. The last thing I'll just leave you with is just a reminder that the hearing was recorded and it'll be posted on our YouTube channel in a couple of days. So if you would like to, you can watch it again or can direct other folks to it and watch it. So with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and thank you for participating in this hearing. Have a great night.